How's everyone doing? We are 9-4 more where we talk Jaguars football and other news around the NFL. And Brandon, the Jaguars almost have a comeback on Sunday against the Colts, but fall 23-17. I'm actually not too upset about the game, but what are your initial thoughts at first?
Well, I mean, at first, right when the game ended, pissed off. Like, we thought we were going to come back and win that. That would be such a big win against the division rival, such as the Colts, who are trending upwards. And we just beat the Bills. We would have beaten 3 out of the last 4 games that we were playing, and that just would have set the momentum. Now I've been like, okay, let's keep going for this. Now it's almost like, let's stay healthy, be competitive, but you don't want to ruin your draft stock now. Because there is a chance this week. I mean, I hate to be like that fan or whatever, but if the Jets beat Miami this week, Jaguars are the number 2 overall pick. And if I had to fight for it, I'd rather have the number 2 overall pick than number 5 overall pick. You know what I mean? So if we're gonna lose, at least we're be competitive at it.
Absolutely. I kind of wish we were in the NFC though, because we would technically still be not, just because the NFC is so bad. I think I seen what was the stat that every team in the AFC except for the Jags, Jets, Dolphins, and Texans, everyone has 5 wins or more.
Yeah,
like that's insane.
yeah,
Like that is legit insane.
yeah. I think the Saints are the number 6 seed in the NFC, and they're like, what? I think they're 5-4 or something like that. Like, it's not a very good. Like, Eagles are into it, and the Eagles have a losing record. And
The Falcons are the 7th seed for the NFC right now, and they got whooped.
Yeah, so it's definitely. I mean, I don't want us making the playoffs. Honestly, with this team, I kind of want to just be like, let's play our 17 games. Let's have as much rest as possible and evaluate the team. In college, you want to make you want the bowl games because you get that extra, like 15 practices, because you can make your team better. NFL, I really don't think those extra practices are worth the hits you're going to continue taking in the playoffs, especially if you're a team that has no shot. We're not winning the Super Bowl. Like,
Oh yeah.
so it's like, to me, it's not worth the risk to even like attempt at this point to go for the playoffs. It's almost, I don't want to say let's tank again, because I really hate that we did that last year. I mean, it worked out. We got Trevor, but if we have to do that again this year, I mean, like I said, I'd rather be pick number 2 than pick number 6 or 7, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I somewhat agree. It's always better to have like that earlier pick, especially with what's that defensive end at? Is it Oregon, right? What's his name? I keep forgetting his name.
He is a tough name. It's like French. It's like Thibodeau, but it's not. It's like Thoreau or something. It's like,
yeah. I mean, he's unbelievable. He's probably one of the best defensive ends coming out since Myles Garrett. So he's probably going to go number 1 regardless. But if we're number 2, he's a chance he could slip the 2 if a team at number 1 needs a quarterback.
Well, I really like the LSU kid who he's not playing Singletary.
The corner, yes, yeah,
he's good. Yeah. I think he's if we're pick number 2, I think he's the pick. If he can be legit with Griffin out there, and then we could have Rudy Ford, and then Campbell's our 3rd corner with another year of development, I think we could possibly fix the secondary, which I think is one of the weaker points of the Jags.
Yeah, I'd be all for that. But let's talk about this Colts Jaguars game. There was a lot of positive I took away from it. There were some negatives, but I think we should start with the positives. And that's the defense continues to get better. This is 2 weeks in a row going against a good offense. Last week against the Bills, this week against a good running attack in the Colts, as well as they're decent at passing. We talked about how Carson Wentz, he's kind of like a kind of similar to Josh Allen, but what's he throwing 18 touchdowns this year already, something like that.
Who, Josh Allen?
No, Carson Wentz. He's actually had a pretty decent year though.
I don't remember his stats, but yeah, he's not bad. He's like, I have him in fantasy. He's like the 10th quarterback in fantasy, so he's obviously doing something right. He's in the top 3rd of the league.
And you had Pittman, who is really coming along, becoming one of the better wide receivers in the league. So the Jags held their own. Besides that first drive where Jonathan Taylor had 94 yards, looks like he was about to run for 250, something like that. But since then, the Jaguars were just shutting Jonathan Taylor down, and the defense was getting after it. They didn't have that many sacks. I think they only had 1 or 2, but they were causing Carson Wentz to make some stupid decisions, where we almost had multiple interceptions, which, that's similar how Carson Wentz is. When he feels pressure, he's like, I'm just going to go and throw this ball and see what happens. Like that sidearm where it was nearly intercepted. But I just give the Jags so much credit, and a few players. Rudy Ford, continue to hear his name. He continues to get better for this defense. And ever since he started playing, the defense seems like they got better, because he is right now, I think, the 2nd or 3rd best corner on the team. Tyson Campbell once again had another great game. And then Josh Allen, I thought, had some pretty good pressure. But the guy I really want to talk about is Taven Bryan. This is 2 weeks in a row where he is like, where has this Taven Bryan been?
Yeah, I have no idea. And it's not like he had a good offseason. Like, the whole offseason was like, he was on the sideline, like he really wasn't even practicing with the team. Everybody was just like, he's not even going to make it. And then I think he barely makes this roster. I feel like if he would have gotten Tyson Alalu in free agency, if he would have stayed here and not gone back to Pittsburgh, I don't know if Tatum Bryant would have made this team. They played somewhat similar positions. Bryant's more of a pass rusher. Alalu is more of a defensive, like run stopper. But it's just like his last 2 games are the best 2 games of his career. Like without a doubt, easily his like better than all 3 years combined, almost what he's done in the last 2 weeks. So whatever has sparked him, I'm glad it has. But yeah, he's getting that interior pressure. Like he blew by Quentin Nelson. Quentin Nelson is an all-pro guard, and he basically broke Quentin Nelson's ankles. Like Quentin Nelson, I think, held him actually on one play because he just blew I never would have guessed that would have happened this year.
Yeah. 100%. I think Quentin Nelson actually got hurt on one of those plays as well when we're getting bull rushed by Taven Bryan. But I thought Miles Jack played good. Miles Jack the past few weeks since he got rid of that green dot has played into old Miles Jack. So going forward, Miles Jack should never have the green dot. Griffin had a pick 6 that would have been he dropped it. That's like
his fourth one of the year where he had a pick 6 that he dropped. Like he needs to work with the receivers this offseason. Maybe not this group of receivers, but maybe with some kind of camp because he can't catch, man.
100%. And I don't think it's too early. It might be, but I'm going to say I think this defense definitely took that corner to the next step to being a very good defense. And it's something you and me talked about before the season started was that it might take a while for this defense to gel. It might be, 6, 7, 8 weeks, but I don't think we expected the defense early on to be that bad.
Yeah.
But they're finally starting to turn the corner of how we thought they were going to be. Joel Collins actually blitzing a lot. He's blitzing pretty much every other play. The one person on defense that I have not been happy with lately is Rayshawn Jenkins. Besides his first 2 games this season, I thought Jenkins has not played good at all this year.
Yeah, I feel like he's played better. Like not the Bills game, I think he had 7 tackles or something like that. He's a great tackler, not great in coverage, I feel like. But so that's why I kind of think we should put Cisco out there too instead of Winger, because Winger's not really a great coverage guy either. So I think maybe I think Rudy Ford is what Jenkins is supposed to be. I just think Rudy Ford is better because Rudy Ford's basically playing the star where he's playing like safety, edge rusher, and nickel kind of all at the same time, depending on what the play is. And I feel like that's how Jenkins is supposed to play, but Rudy Ford's better at it. So I kind of feel like we're going to have a competition there between Jenkins and Rudy Ford. Is just you pay Jenkins a lot of money in the offseason to be that player. They're going to end up playing him. I don't think he's terrible, but I think if you surround him with really good guys, his play is going to get better too. But because all those other guys around him aren't doing their job as well, that his play, he's going to look even worse. You know what I mean? That's why the last few weeks he hasn't looked as bad as he did earlier in the year, because early in the year there was no one helping him, so he sucked. Now that he's having some guys help him, I think his play is getting better because he doesn't have to make as many plays and stretched and everything like that.
Yeah, if he gets better, that's all I ask. But Urban Meyer is someone I feel like, especially after this year, kind of like, it's kind of like Urban Meyer's test run this year, right? It's kind of getting a feel for the NFL. I do think when it comes to next year, he's going to put the best players on the field, like whether that's Cisco or Winger, whoever it is. If that happens to be Rudy Ford and you paying Jenkins a lot of money, he's your backup. I think Urban Meyer don't care at that point.
Well, you're not supposed to care, but I feel like Jenkins, Rudy Ford is a fine. You can get away with that, but we got to make sure Campbell gets better or get an upgrade on that corner position as well too. And then also the free safety has to get better because Wingard isn't bad. I feel like he's Jared Wilson. Remember how we were always saying about Jared Wilson? Like he's not going to blow the game for you, but he's not going to win it either. I feel like
Wingard, just there. He's average there.
Yeah, I think he gets a lot of blame for like the whole punt block thing. Really, actually, like Jeff Waterman explained it really well that Wingard actually exceeded his job expectation. It was actually on the blockers up front of him. That was who was at fault there. So I think Wingard gets a bad rep just because Wyoming kid, mainly special teams, blew a lot of plays, but he does make a couple plays. But he's not elite by any means. And I think we really need to see Cisco out there. I think Cisco, Ford, and Jenkins should be our 3 safety look. If you have,
I would love to see Cisco out there. But speaking of Tyson Campbell, last week we talked about how, he had a pretty good game. His name wasn't called, so that was actually good. This week he actually played the ball, it seemed like, quite often.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's the next step for him because he is very fast. Outside, he can keep up pretty much with anyone in the league, which is what you want. He just had the bad, not ball placement, just he didn't know where the ball was at in the air.
Yeah.
He could never turn his head. He didn't know where anything was at. And that's what his biggest problem was. And he would allow these catches that were basically right on him. All these wide receivers would catch it on him, and it would kind of look like he got mossed.
Yeah.
But he's finally playing well. He had a very good game. So hopefully this is his, turning. So we'll see what happens there. But let's talk about the offense. And I thought the offense, for the most part in the game, was terrible. I thought everyone played terrible except for two players, James Robinson, for what he was given.
Mm-hmm.
He only had 12 or 13 carries.
Still hurt. You can tell that foot's still bothering him.
Yeah, but even he started cooking towards the end, in the fourth quarter, he started really cooking where he was it seemed like the ankle wasn't bothering that much. Got that touchdown. Jamal Agnew had that nice touchdown run, but other than that, Jamal Agnew, what he kept dropped 4 or 5 passes.
It was bad. He dropped basically every pass that was thrown at him.
But I thought the whole offense was bad. Cam Robinson actually I thought had a pretty good game, but other than that, I thought even Trevor Lawrence did not look good at all.
No, Trevor, usually it's the receivers. I'm not saying there was a ton of drop. Dan Arnold dropped his ball. I'm pretty sure Marvin Jones dropped the ball. But he missed Chenault on a deep fly route where Chenault actually beat his guy on the outside, which is pretty rare, and just slightly overthrew him on the Marvin Jones misconnection where he tried to do the back shoulder pass that worked well the first time. Trevor threw it a couple yards short. And then he had that one where Dan Arnold, I believe, was going on a crossing route to the outside. Easy throw. Even the announcers are like, this is a throw you have to make. This is an easy throw. No one was in his face, and he completely whiffed on a 5-yard out route. So Trevor didn't have a good day, but at the same time, his receivers just can't get open. Agnew, I think I saw somewhere he has one of the lowest separation rates. He may be fast, but his route running just isn't there. Marvin Jones just isn't fast enough, I think, to get separation. And then you have no one behind him. So I think Dan Arnold leads his team in separation, which is an issue. And once we get that, I think Trevor's play again will get better.
As of right now, going forward, Dan Arnold needs to see about 15 targets. That's just me. He's your best wide receiver, even though he's a tight end. He's your best pass catching guy out there, and he's most reliable guy for Trevor Lawrence because he drops maybe 1 or 2 a game, but he pretty much just catches everything.
Yeah,
and he's pretty good at blocking. But Trevor Lawrence, I start getting this feeling where he's afraid to make mistakes right now because he knows he can't trust his wide receivers. He doesn't want to say it. Obviously, you're a rookie quarterback and quarterback in general. You're not going to say you can't trust your wide receivers. And he just it's happened all year where when he throws a good ball, his wide receivers drop it, or they run the wrong route. And I think he doesn't want to make a mistake where the ball's intercepted or just look bad. So he's kind of starting to play bad now because of that.
Yeah, I also think he's not looking completely down the field because he actually had Chenault also on a wide open. It was a wheel route. Chenault was in the backfield.
Yep, they talked about it today on the radio.
And it was Chenault was no one was in 10 yards. And Trevor is even running that direction on that side of the field. And if he had his eyes up, he would easily saw Chenault was wide open and it would have been a touchdown. And instead of that, I think he ran it or he tried to do a little dump pass and it didn't go anywhere. And so I think he's also not looking downfield anymore. I don't think he thinks his guys are, unless it's a design go route like the Chenault one where it was a hike, one-on-one coverage, I'm going to Chenault. Unless it's something like that, he's not looking down the field like he should be. And instead he's looking to take it to the run because I think he's thinking my guys aren't even open down there. What's the point of even looking down there? I see 5 yards ahead of me. Let me try to get these 5 yards.
No, yeah, 100%. I think they were talking about how Lavisco is basically waving his hands too, when he's trying to get Trevor's attention.
It was by even college definition, he was wide open. In pro, other way around, pro definition he was wide open. In college, it would have been just a complete normal play. But in pro, you not get those kind of open looks in the NFL, and he just completely didn't even see him.
Yeah, I think he's starting to just looking for Dan Arnold or James Robinson right now, just because the only two people he can dump it off to. And I think he just doesn't want to make that mistake, but he definitely needs to get better. And I think he will once he gets more reliable protection and more reliable, pass catchers. But offensive line, I want to go back to them. I thought Cam Robinson, like I said, played good. Ben Bartch was okay. Everyone else I did not think played well. Yeah, I think we only allowed 2 sacks or maybe 3, but something Nick Saban always says, sacks stat is like one of the dumbest things out there because Trevor Lawrence was getting pressure all day long in his face. I mean, he was lucky enough where he's somewhat mobile, where he was able to throw the ball away or run out of the pocket and throw the ball away. But I mean, it seemed like as soon as he hiked the ball, he had only 2 or 3 seconds to throw it.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It's like the same thing we're talking about with Wentz. Like, we really didn't get them in, but Wentz was under pressure the whole game too. Just Wentz, I think, just has better playmakers like Michael Pittman, like T.Y. Hilton, like Jonathan Taylor, like Hines, and we just don't have that. And I think that's the main reason why, besides the special teams that happened, that's why they won. And that's why they were so dominant in the beginning, because they were protecting Wentz and they were running the ball well. And I think if we can just get back to that, this team will be good. I feel like when James Robinson is back healthy, which I think he will be this game, because I'm assuming if he took 12 carries this game and you were saving him for the end of the game, and he has a bruised heel, which I looked it up, it could take anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how bad it is. But if he's taking
third or fourth week right here.
Yeah, this will be his 3rd week. So, and he was didn't even practice the first week, didn't even play. I think he was limited practice this week and only played like 12 snaps. He should be, I think, good to go. Minimum pain, if anything, give him a couple of pain pills or those shots to kind of get rid of that, maybe that little bit. But I think once they get James Robinson back into this lineup and teams actually fear the running game, that'll obviously open up. Because what was it, that 3rd and 1 play where Carlos Hyde's in the shotgun? Everybody in that stadium was like, we are not scared of Carlos Hyde and we're not scared of you throwing the ball this game. So we're just going to blitz everybody. And that play was dead in the water. And I think if it was James Robinson, I think they would have respected a little bit more the fact that it was Carlos Hyde. They're like, oh, we can just blitz everybody and there's no option for them to pass the ball.
No, I agree 100%. Once the offense gets rolling, I think this team's going to get a lot better. Defense has finally turned the corner. I mean, the first week only allowed 6 points to the Bills, one of the best offenses in the league. And then you have the Colts, who are very good at passing. They're decent at, throwing. So they kind of can do that, 50-50 split where they can do a little bit of both. And I mean, they really only allowed 1 touchdown because they had the block, punt, and everything else was field goals, I believe.
Yeah.
So they only allowed technically the defense only allowed 1 touchdown in 2 weeks. And even go back to the Seattle game when they were getting blown out in the first half. The second half, the defense I think only allowed a field goal in the second half. So they really started turning the corner there. We need the offense to help the defense out. It's starting to get to that 2018, the year after the playoffs, where the defense was still top 5, but we were losing all these games because the offense
couldn't score anything.
Yeah, they couldn't score anything. So the defense kept going on the field. So the defense would get tired and finally let up a big play and we would lose. And that's kind of how it's starting to feel right now with the final 8 weeks. So hopefully the offense can get somewhat how they were beginning of the season. Beginning of the season, the offense I thought was playing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
It was the defense that was costing the games. Now it's the complete opposite. Yeah. Something that we did not think was going to happen. We thought the offense would just keep getting better. Maybe we would start winning these shootouts, 34-31. But no, it's just like I think we're at the point where if we can score 20 points, we have a chance to win a lot of games. Like right now, going forward.
Oh yeah, if we ever score more than, I say, if multiple touchdowns, because we haven't had a multiple touchdown game. I don't even think, did we have 2 touchdowns against the Dolphins? I think
because James Robinson scored, Trevor Lawrence scored. That was it, I think.
Yeah, so we had 2 touchdowns against that. So really, it's been since, I would personally say that I've been happy with this offense since the Cincinnati Bengals game.
I agree 100%.
Like, I wasn't completely happy because we completely got rid of what we were doing near the end of that game. And then we finally got back to it, but it was too late. So it's kind of like this offense, I think, will get better with James Robinson, with also the John Brown. One of the news today, we cut Johnson, and we're going to probably promote John Brown. I don't know if it's official that John Brown's been promoted to the 53-man roster, but I would assume he's going to play. He's probably going to be the number 2 option immediately.
Speedster guy. I mean, 2 years ago he had 3 years ago, 2019, he had 1,000 yards with the Bills.
Yeah, because I think then he got hurt the next year, and then it's this year, and he didn't play. I don't think he's played a game because he was with the Raiders. Then he requested to be off the team, and now we've seen the Raiders blow up. So maybe it was something that behind the scenes we don't really know. And now he's here with the Jags, so he should be healthy. He should be good, and I think he can at least give us something. He's going to be a better option than running Agnew on the flies. Like that's what he does for a living. He run go routes, fly routes, whatever you want to call them, and he's a speedster. So I'm hoping that kind of gives our game more vertical. James Robinson's back, and then you use Arnold in the intermediate. Maybe this team can actually put up some points.
Absolutely. They have a tough game against the 49ers. The 49ers haven't been playing well, but they had a very good game against the Rams where they smacked the crap out of the Rams. So we'll see what happens there. I think that the Jags can handle the 49ers. I really do. I think the Jags defense that they can play well against them. It's more so I'm worried about the offense. Can the offense score? I think this could be like a 23-20 game, pretty close, not too high scoring, somewhere more of like a defensive battle. But I'm looking forward to just, if we go 3-7, I kind of just want to, these last 8 games get better, maybe win 4 or 5 and maybe be like 6-11. Obviously you want that number 2 pick more likely, but 6-11 is a huge improvement from 1-15 last year. And definitely kind of going to next year, you have somewhat of momentum.
Yeah. Like I'm not sold. I know I was mentioning like I want to be the pick number 2 because it's obvious that the Lions are going to be pick number 1. We're not that team is terrible on all sides of the ball. So we're not going to get the number 1 overall pick, but you do kind of want to win. Like you're a fan, you want to win games. Like in the long run, was it good to win against the Bills? No, but at the same time, we were at home, the electric atmosphere. You can't help but root for your team. So I'm not saying I'm not going to root for the Jags to win. Obviously, you want the Jags to win, especially momentum wise. I think this team could very much. We have the Jets, we have the Texans, we have the Falcons. I think all those games are winnable.
I think we can beat the Colts again. I remember
in Jacksonville, I think we could definitely beat the Colts again. So especially if we start getting our offense maybe finally going a little bit and have a little bit more momentum. Maybe John Brown's finally doing something. Maybe we get Treadwell more into the game. Treadwell actually had it wasn't like a stat pounding game, but Treadwell had one of the best blocks of the year to free up Agnew on the outside to get that touchdown. And then he also had a very impressive, like, I think it was 3rd down catch where it was like it was a really long play. I don't remember what down it was, but it was like 20 plus yards or pretty close to it. And it was a phenomenal catch. So he only had 2 plays. Both of those plays are very impactful in the game.
He was actually really good last week of the Bills in block. Remember that one run by Carlos Hyde? That was a good block by Treadwell. So Treadwell is definitely, he's not that, guy that's going to go out and catch all his passes, but he's a pretty decent wide receiver for when it comes to blocking. So when you need to get a long run, I think he should be out there.
Yeah, 100%. And I think he's at least reliable to get you like, those 2 or 3 catches that you need. Put him out there blocking on the running plays. And then you have John Brown running deep, Marvin Jones doing his thing. And then you're using Chenault also more in the backfield now. And that's kind of opening up. Chenault almost had an Agnew play. It's just he got tackled in the backfield. He didn't get as lucky as Agnew and had no one there. So we could have had that happen. So if we can get Chenault going, playing that way, Agnew getting his big plays, John Brown, Arnold, Marvin Jones, there's at least hope for this offense. I'm not saying we're going to be tops in the league, and we're also going to get Linder back. I think Linder is coming back for this game, I believe.
Yeah, but I think they said he'll be more likely be ready for the 49er game.
So, and Linder loves Shatley. Shatley should be a Jaguar for life, in my opinion. He's a
1-year deal every year. How he does
every year, just 1 year, $3 million or whatever he's getting paid. Just keep giving him that until he doesn't want to do this anymore. But Linder's, you're paying him $10 million. He's the captain of this football team for multiple years for a reason. We get Linder back. You get Barch, Norwell. That interior can be fixed with James Robinson. We could possibly be in the lineup to upset some teams, I feel like, when we're fully healthy and fully like have actual offensive weapons.
No, I agree 100%. There is a question I do want to ask you, and that's Cam Robinson. He's played pretty well this year. He's had some of his games where he hasn't looked great. Is it getting to the point where you do really need to protect Trevor that you're willing to pay Cam Robinson and just for your future left tackle?
That's the number one question for me this offseason, besides who we're going to get at receiver, because we're going to have to go for someone for a receiver. Outside of that, because there is the left tackle prospect from Alabama, Evan,
yeah,
and he's projected to basically go to the Jags. Like he's projected to go between like 4 and 6. But he could go as high as 2. But basically everybody has him going to the Jags because of the whole Cam Robinson situation. I think it depends on what Cam wants for his salary. Like if he's willing to take like 14 a year or so, but I think he's going to want the 18 to 20. And I'm not paying Cam Robinson 18 to 20 for like 4 years, and have, 70% of the contract be guaranteed, especially in the first couple of years. I don't think I'm down for that. And in that case, I would take Evan Neal because I do think Walker Little is good, but I don't think he's as good as Cam Robinson. And I don't think he's as good as Evan Neal. So that's kind of where it's going to be tricky for this. And then Norwell's also he restructured his deal in the beginning of the year. He only has 1 year left. This is his last year here too.
He has to be resigned. He's one of the best guards right now in football.
The only thing is that he's getting paid $16 million. Is he willing to understand the situation that, hey, I got paid all this money. He really never lived up to the deal that he got with making him one of the top guards in the NFL. He was good, but is he willing to get like $10 million a year? And is Cam Robinson willing to take like $14 million a year? If that's the case, then I would re-sign both of those. But if they're both sitting at we want to be, top 5, top 7 pay guard tackles, I don't think we bring that back. As much as we need to protect Trevor, we are going to have salary cap problems probably at the end of going into next, not this year. Obviously, we're going to have like 70 million, especially if we don't re-sign those two, we're going to have like 80 million. But we're going to have to go get a primetime receiver. We're then going to have to get guys to replace those two at a high level. And we're going to have to get someone either on the edge or in the secondary.
And you're going to have to go ahead and Josh Allen can get paid after this year. You're going to probably want to pay Josh Allen. You're going to want to probably pay James Robinson. Yeah, James
Robinson, Chark. You're going to want to lock down the guys that are good right now. So that's where I kind of get to the situation of like, it's all going to come down to how much money they're willing to take. Because I think players are obviously and agents going to try to get as much money as possible. And I'm thinking they are going to re-sign Robinson because Urban Meyer and the offense has just been raving about Cam Robinson. Never once has Meyer like really even talked bad about Robinson. It's always like, well, how many passes did we have? We had through 54 passes. Of course, he's going to let like 3 or 4 of them get by him on 54 dropbacks. Like he's not going to go 54 winning, which is somewhat accurate. That is true. But at the same time, it seems like late in the game, Robinson just always has something happens that costs us to lose the game. It was Cam Robinson that made us lose the Bengals game. Like off that end, well, I wouldn't say his fault, but he let Trey Hendrickson go right by him on the very last play and sack Trevor Lawrence when we were driving down the field. So there's just certain instances I wouldn't overpay those two. I guess.
In worst case, you have Walker Little if you don't want to draft someone.
Exactly.
Can't be who probably will be serviceable, and maybe the following year you can get a left tackle. But it's a lot of questions going into the offseason. Jags versus 49ers this week should be an interesting battle, but let's just go over real quick about the other games this week. Last week, a lot of close games, a lot of upsets, but man, there's one upset, which was Washington over Bucs. But other than that, this is blowout central this weekend.
Yeah, it was not, man. This week the last 2 weeks in the NFL have been crazy with upsets. And teams that were like getting blown out one week and then come this week, like the Cowboys. Cowboys get completely blown out by the Denver Broncos. No one saw that. Come with the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons are actually trending upwards. The Falcons are actually winning games, looking pretty good, and the Cowboys just dismantled them, like winning like by college numbers, 40-3 or whatever it was. But I have no idea what the NFL is doing right now with like players. Like it's ridiculous how close. Like every week is so different. You can't pick and be for sure that this team's going to win this week.
No, this year is insane.
There's especially this week's schedule. You can make an argument, in my opinion, for almost every game of either team winning. Like almost every single game this week is, I think, almost 50-50. I don't have the schedule in front of me. I'm sure there's like 1 or 2 where you're like, okay, they're not going to win. But we said, like you brought up, no one had Washington beating the Bucs. Absolutely no one, with the Bucs coming off a bye week. And especially with them losing Chase Young early into the game, and they still hold on, and Brady looked terrible. Like, I every week there's something that blows my mind in the NFL. Like, I can't believe that team won, and it completely changed all my betting. Like, it's like, oh, this is a lock. You're telling me you're going to give the Falcons 9 points to Dallas? Yeah, they may not win, but they're not going to get blown out by more than 10 points. And what they do, get blown out by 40. And then the Bucs losing to Washington and just all that happening. And it's just like, this is crazy.
No, absolutely. I mean, some of the blowouts, you had Cowboys winning 43-3. You had the Panthers winning 34-10, which Cam Newton is back. I assume Cam Newton's going to start. Cam Newton actually looked pretty good for the most part from what he was in there. So
I would hold off on that. I think Cam Newton was kind of like given all the right opportunities.
Well, he's at the goal line.
Basically, because that's where he excels at, is within the red zone. Cam Newton is really good. It's
pretty much unstoppable. Yeah.
It's at his own 30 is where it starts becoming an issue because he can't throw the ball. So that's where I will look for. I don't think Carolina, I think a lot of people are going to ride the Carolina thing that they're facing Washington. And I think a lot of people are going to feel like Carolina's going to do good. Cam Newton's back, had a good game. I would be wary about that one. That one I think is a trap.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, you had the Patriots 45-7. Patriots look good. Mac Jones look good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Packers 17-0 over the Seahawks. First time Russell Wilson's ever been shut out. Yeah. And you know what's kind of crazy? So earlier in the year, how we talked about the Packers defense is going to be one of the worst in the league. They kind of similar to the Jags. Their defense now the past few weeks has actually played really well.
Yep.
And so that team is pretty much, I think, complete. And I think they're one of the better teams in the NFC. Your Eagles 30-13 probably would have been a lot, closer if Teddy Bridgewater wanted to just go ahead and tackle Darius Slay on that return. All he had to do was stick his hand out. That's all he had to do.
Watching that live, even I was like, did Teddy just not want to, he wanted that pick six? Because he literally didn't even try. And the Eagles got a really, really easy schedule going forward. They're one of the dark horses, I feel like. Every team makes a run at the end of the year because of their schedule. I think the Eagles could easily be that team.
Especially in the NFC, you probably can go 9-8, but in the AFC, unfortunately for the Jags, you probably got to win 11 games to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it's completely flipped because back in the past few years, it's always been NFC is so much harder, but now it's like where the NFC is basically could be a cakewalk for teams. Right.
You have the 4 teams at the top, and then the rest is just all the exact same record.
Yeah.
And in the AFC is just the exact opposite. You're either terrible or you're going to the playoffs. There's no in between in the AFC.
No, I agree 100%. And one of my Super Bowl sleeper teams, I do want to say this though. I know you don't want to hear this, but I think the Cowboys, when they're on all cylinders, I think they're one of the Super Bowl sleepers this year.
Oh, 100%. Dan Quinn has completely changed that defense. And he has 100%, I think, reopened his discussion to becoming an NFL head coach again. Because the way he has took that Dallas defense was terrible. That defense was 30th in the league for multiple years under Jason Garrett. Once Wade Phillips left, basically, they were trash. And he should win Coach of the Year somehow for being the defensive coordinator. Mike McCarthy might get it, but really Mike McCarthy would owe that Coach of the Year to Dan Quinn, in my opinion.
Yeah, because he's really helped turn Trayvon Diggs into a Trayvon Diggs. He reminds me of Marcus Peters. He's going to give up his touchdowns a decent amount, but he will get so many interceptions.
Well, then also Micah Parsons is probably, in my opinion, Rookie of the Year. And then he has helped with, I believe, even isn't Dexter Lawrence got hurt in the beginning of the year. I don't remember.
Yeah, they have 2 or 3 pass rushers out for the Cowboys, and they're still
getting to the quarterback. Randy Gregory, I think, has almost 6 sacks, and Randy Gregory was a guy known for being basically a big issue off the field. He's gotten suspended multiple times for off the field and then not backing it up on play. Just he's a freak athlete. And Dan Quinn, I guess, I don't know if he's cleaned up or not, or they got him more on lock, but Randy Gregory is actually having a very good year this year. And that's one of the players that, and with Diggs, he's getting the most out of the players that are there. And to me, that means he's going to be an NFL head coach. I think maybe not next year, but if he repeats this with Dallas again, and they do go to the Super Bowl this year, he would be the first coach, I think, that will get the next, the number 1 job.
Yeah, absolutely. Another coach out there that's an assistant, a defensive coordinator is Vance Joseph for the Cardinals, who used to be the Broncos head coach. He's someone they said rumors going around that he could get another chance to be a head coach because he actually did pretty decent with the Broncos. I think, he had a few winning seasons, just never went that deep run, and they finally – the Broncos are a weird team, man.
Quarterbacks that they've had lately, man.
Yeah.
Drew
Broncos are just a weird team, dude. You can win 10 games in 3 years in a row, but if you don't go to Super Bowl, you're fired. It just makes no sense to me. But I think he's another coach that could potentially get another shot at it.
Yeah.
Some other games we talked about the 49ers and Rams. This is 2 weeks in a row where the Rams have not looked good, especially in the offside ball. Matthew Stafford has 4 or 5 interceptions in 2 weeks now, and and they're turning into defensive touchdowns too.
Yeah, they're pick sixes. They're not in the middle of the field and just goes down and it's like some weird tip pass. It's like it's clear as day. Terrible throw, terrible timing, pick six. Like that's not from a veteran. You don't want that.
And then you had Ramsey on the sideline going, just
Doing
getting so
Ramsey's
upset.
thing, man. He's
Yep.
that character that I'm really glad he's not on this team because I think he destroys locker rooms. When it's not going good, he makes everyone uncomfortable. I feel
Well,
if it's going good, he's the best guy in the locker room. So that's that's not someone I think that you really want.
And the thing is, it's 2017 for the defense for the Rams, because when you're playing on all cylinders, you're the bully, you're punching people in the mouth, you're doing fine. But as soon as you get punched in the mouth, for the Jags in 2017, we had that game against the 49ers where they whooped us. And we had our defensive players fighting on the sideline each other. We did not know how to handle getting punched in the mouth. We just didn't. We couldn't handle it.
Yep. And that's what we're seeing opposite with this Jaguars team. We got punched in the mouth, and instead of just fighting on the sideline, they actually came together and said, okay, that's it. We're done with this. We're going to completely kill them going forward.
They keep fighting, man. That's what I love about this defense. They keep fighting. They're energetic. They're 2-7, but they still believe. They still believe they can go on a run, which is what you want, though. That's one good thing about Urban. People are going to still trash Urban Meyer for not being a good coach, but he's turned this locker room into a team that's still 2-7 that believes in themselves, that believe they can go out there and go on a run.
This might be the best locker room I think we've had. And going forward, their defense is pretty much set going forward. Like there's not many guys that are on contracts that are end up. Like we have Damian Wilson, who I think is going to be able to come back for a cheap deal. If you want to bring back Wingard, I mean, I'm not saying that Wingard's worse, but
a backup or a special teams
for $2 or $3 million for a guy who plays special teams at a pretty high level and is a decent backup, I feel like in the league for $2 or $3 million, that's perfectly fine. Other than those two, pretty much all the starters are back. I think Ward, as much as love Ward on the offseason and his like off the field, he has done nothing, absolutely nothing in the games. He's the only one I feel like is a fan favorite that I think a lot of people want him back, but when you actually look at his stats, he's not doing very good. Outside of those two re-signing, this defense is pretty much set for the next like 2 or 3 years, if not. So I that's where I'm very hopeful for next season for sure, is that if this defense stays like they're playing through the end of the year and they bring back Wilson and some of the other role players, they can solely focus on offense in the offseason.
And exactly. And then you can still in the draft or maybe in free, you don't have to worry about plugging all these holes. Now, if you can find a player to get better, awesome. Like if you can get another corner, but it's not your top priority.
Yeah. Or
which is what you want.
I love the FSU guy. That might be just biased being an FSU fan, but Jermaine Johnson is a dude. And I think if you had him in there, because we're not even using Chase on pass rushes anymore. If you notice that on third down, Chase on goes off the field. He's only there on obvious running plays. So
I will say this, Jason's actually been even like on the running plays, but he's done a decent job of covering so far. It's kind of weird. Like, I don't know, maybe he's a covering linebacker now. I don't know.
We saw that actually in preseason. Remember in training camp, we were out there and there was a couple plays on the passing field where Chason was stride for stride with a player and put his hand up and knocked the ball down during training camp. And it was just like, if he gets his pass rushing down, this guy's going to be like possibly Pro Bowler in the next couple of years the way he's covering. But it's looking like he's completely lost on the pass rush. He completely whiffed on Carson Wentz. Like Wentz, like basically like as if a tornado came by and took Chase on going the other direction. That's how bad it was. So I still think that outside edge could be a player like Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan. If we are pick 6 or 7, Neal's gone and stuff like that, he's the guy. I think if you had him and Josh Allen, this pass rush is elite, and then you just focus on offense. And I think that's how we may go this offseason.
No, absolutely. I agree. Defense is definitely turning the corner, how we talked about, and it's kind of set almost. I mean, Joe Cullen has done a phenomenal job knowing how to utilize the players. In the beginning of the year, Urban wanted to play a lot of man, and I think that was not good. I think this team, with the players you have, is zone. And I think finally Cullen realized, we can blitz, we can still play zone. And I think he's finally getting the best out of everyone, which I prefer if we play man. But if this team can be defense can be top 5, top 10, we're playing zone and still blitzing, I'm all for it. It's not going to bother me.
Yeah, 100%. This is the defense going forward. We got the players going forward. Let's just keep them, extend the guys that we need to, re-sign the guys we need to, and then focus on offense. And we get ETN back next year. Hopefully we get Chark back. Chark's injuries just if he had that like this injury in the preseason, I feel like Chark would have been able to play.
We probably wouldn't have been back by now. We're getting there.
So it's not like a terrible injury. I worry about Travis Etienne. His only good thing is it happened so early that hopefully by preseason and in the first couple of weeks we kind of get him warmed up and then he's ready to go by midseason. I feel like because you don't want to mess with that Liz Frank injury for running backs. That's like a killer. So if he can kind of take his time, come back, we get Chark. Let's say we get someone. Even like realistically, I put out one thing. We get Tim Patrick from Denver.
Yeah.
Like not saying like that's like bottom of the wrong receivers that I would want to bring in, but he's doing really good with Denver, especially on man coverage plays. He has like a perfect passer rating with the quarterback passing to him. So he wouldn't be a terrible guy. Bring back Chark. We draft a guy in the second round or whatever. Marvin Jones, Chanel, Agnew could be happy with that. So
yeah. I would still draft the guy maybe in like, sometime during the draft for speedsters.
Yeah. So I think to summarize it all up, we're not winning, but we're going to be setting the pieces up to win next year, is I feel like where we are at this point in the season. And I think we have to be happy with that. The only thing that I feel like Jaguars fans and myself included aren't happy with that process, that Trevor Lawrence needs to continue to get better at the end of the year. He can't finish the year with 12 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and only like 3 rushing touchdowns. I feel like he needs to be in that like close to 20 number for touchdowns. I don't care about the interceptions, but he needs to get those touchdowns and those yards up. Because if not, in the way he's been playing, that's where I would start to have somewhat of a worry is, okay, he really needs to work in the offseason. So that way by the second season, he's ready.
No, I agree 100%. But hopefully the Jags can pull off the win against the 49ers. I don't know what the line is for Vegas, but last time I heard it was only like a 3.5 or 4 point. But that was the last time I heard it. When I went on the Hard Rock Sportsbook, I didn't see them on there. So it might be just a pick'em game where there is no line for that game.
I would be pretty surprised after how the 49ers handled the Rams. Yeah, I don't see it on here. They might be waiting to put the line out.
Yeah, but last time I heard that the 49ers, I think we're only a 3.5 point favorite, which is basically the Jags are given, 3 points. So basically it's kind of almost like 6 points.
Yeah.
Because home teams are always given 3 points.
I think it's going to rise because I think they were waiting to see what the 49ers were going to do to the Rams. And I think because they completely destroyed the Rams, at least the Florida sportsbook is confused on, well, wait a minute. Should we really only have them as a 3 point favorite? Or is everybody just going to take the 49ers on that now? I could see it rising to possibly like 4.5 or 5.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
If they lost though, the Jags might have been favored.
Oh yeah. If they would have gotten blown up by the Rams, it would have been probably a half point spread. I feel like I feel like is going to be really low. Like I feel like
probably under's probably gonna be like 40, like or under that. Yeah.
Be around like the low 40s and like, with James Robinson coming back and the way that Elijah Mitchell's running, the way that Deebo Samuel's going off, George Kittle's back, that might be a really popular bet is to actually take the over in that one because the 49ers have been actually injured. Like the 49ers get injured all the time, but they're starting to come back healthy now. Ayuk's playing good. Deebo Samuel's playing like almost an all-pro the last couple of weeks. Garoppolo's not turning the ball over. And if George Kittle is one of the top tight ends is back on their offense, that offense all of a sudden becomes much more of a threat than it was maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago when they were losing games really bad.
No, yeah, I agree 100%. They're finally starting to get everyone back healthy. Last year they had the injury bug and it seemed like they were going to have it again this year. But I mean, when healthy, they have an explosive offense. So we'll see how the Jags defense can handle them. Mm-hmm. But other than that, thank you all for watching. Definitely go follow us on Twitter at 904 and more and go Jags.
Go Jags.